All right, this video comes from Go Math Chapter 2, this video lesson, and it's lesson 2.6, in which we're estimating quotients. And by now we should really be familiar with the parts of a division sentence, because that's really what's going to help us determine how we go about solving these problems today. And the essential question reads, how can you use compatible numbers to estimate quotients of fractions and mixed numbers? Then it connect reads, you've used compatible numbers to estimate quotients of whole numbers and decimals. We did that in lesson 1.1. We did that all as we were dividing decimals by a whole number and decimals by decimals in lessons that were later in chapter 1. Now, as we're in chapter 2, we're going to be using compatible numbers to also estimate quotients of whole numbers and decimals. And it goes on further to say you can use compatible numbers to estimate quotients of fractions and mixed numbers. Now, the unlock the problem reads very simply, humpback whales have songs that they repeat continuously over periods of several hours. Eric is using an underwater microphone to record a 3 and 5/6 minute humpback song. He has 15 and 3/4 minutes of battery power left. About how many times will he be able to record the song? Well, the question asks us about how many times will he be able to record the song. We know from cubes we're underlining what the question's asking us. The important facts are that he has 15 and 3/4 minutes of battery power left. That song also happens to be 3 and 5/6 minutes. And the idea is that we want to know about how many times will he be able to record the song. And we're looking at it as really being how many, given that this is the time constraint of the song and this is the total amount of time he has left. Now, which operation should we use to solve the problem? Well, we know we're not multiplying. We're not saying, this is the battery power that he has left and this is the amount of songs and we want to know over and over and over. No, we want to use division because we want to see how many times will we be able to record the song. And so we need to use division because we need to find the groups of 3 and 5/6. How many groups in particular are in 15 and 3/4? And this whole entire lesson, we're going to be using compatible numbers because it says, how do you know that the problem calls for an estimate? This key signal word about lets us know that it's not an exact. Well, let's look. 15 and 3/4 is the dividend. And I like to say when it's written with that division symbol sign, it's on the left end. And the 3 and 5/6 is the divisor. And we're going to look at seeing what's closest to 15 and 3/4. Well, I know 3/4 is very close to 4/4. It's 7/500 as a decimal equivalent. So I think 16 is a fair compatible number for 15 and 3/4. Now, what's important is if I make this 16, I really want to be mindful of what I make then the divisor. The divisor is 3 and 5/6. Well, 5/6 is only 1/6 away from 6/6, which is a whole. So that's very close to 4. And now I've used compatible numbers, and I know that how many 4s go into 16? 4. So my answer is going to be about, that's the about symbol, by the way, 4 times. I know my answer is reasonable because this 15 and 3/4 is very close to 16. This 3 and 5/6 is very close to 4, and there are 4 groups of 4 in 16. Now, number 1 underneath says to estimate 15 and 3/4, divide 3 and 5/6. To estimate 15 and 3/4 divided by 3 and 5/6, Martin used 15 and 3 as compatible numbers. Tina used 15 and 4. Were their choices good? Well, Martin, 15 and 3/4, I feel like it's closer to 16 than it is 15. And the 3 and 5/6 is closer to 4 than it is 16. So Martin's choice was, I guess, okay, because we can take groups of 3 into 15 evenly. But Tina, using 15 and 4, well, can we take 4 into 15 evenly? No. So we're going to just go ahead and write that Martin's was so-so. At least I'm going to. And the reason why is because 15 can divide, or we can divide 3 into 15 evenly. With 15 divided by 4, when we look at it, can 4 go into 15? Because you can't do it mentally. And this is really what today is all about. So today's a really good day for us to strengthen our mental math skills, for us to really be comfortable and get more familiar with our number sense. And looking at numbers that are compatible really just means numbers that are easy to compute. Well, look at the next example. 5 and 2/3 divided by 5/8. Well, 5 and 2/3, that is very close to 6. And 5/8, well, 4/8 is a half. So I'm going to go ahead and use the number 1/2. I'm not going to use 1 because I want to get an estimate that's close to my actual. Now, how many 1/2s are in 6? I could even draw a model if I wanted to. 3, 4, 5, 6. How many 1/2s are in 6? Well, that's 1. That's another half. That's 3. That's another half. There's another half. There's another half. There's another half. There's another half. And so now I just made a model, another problem solving strategy to help me show that there are 12 1/2s or 12 halves in 6. So 5 and 2/3 divided by 5/8 is about 12. 7/8 divided by 1/4. Well, 7/8, to me, it's very close to 1. How many 1/4s are in 1? Again, I can draw a model. I have 1 whole. How many 1/4s are in 1? Well, that's something split in half. There's 2 halves in 1. Here's a fourth. Here's a fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 1/4s in 1. So 7/8 divided by 1/4 is about 4. Questions here I'm going to have you on your own because I really do want you to think about, will the actual quotient of 5 and 2/3 divided by 5/8 be greater than or less than the estimated quotient? What I want you to think about, remember we used the compatible numbers of 6 and we used the compatible numbers of 1/2. So do you think the actual answer is going to be less than or greater than the actual quotient? And then the actual quotient of 7/8, which remember we used the compatible numbers of 1 divided by 1/4, will it be greater than or less than the estimated quotient? Lastly, you're going to do, again, on your own, explain how you would estimate 14 and 3/4 divided by 3 and 9/10 using compatible numbers. Think about what we did each and every time we used compatible numbers. We wanted numbers that we could compute easily. And when we have these two mixed numbers, we want to think about, okay, what's going to be a value that's going to be easy for us to compute mentally and that we don't have to sit there and work the problem out. As you get through the next problems on the page, just remember the arrow down is pointing to you to where you should put the new compatible numbers. The dividend is on the end, the divisor is on the inside in these number sentences, the way they're written, and the quotient is there. So please continue in the share and show to go ahead, put the arrows down to show what you made compatible, what numbers you chose, just like in this example here. And do the share and show, the on your own, and the problem solving. Remember, compatible numbers are numbers that help us compute things easily, that we can use mental math for, or we can draw a simple model.